Hello, gamers. Welcome to episode 14, my lucky number, 70 falls, featured in this delicious, amazing episode. And this time there are no viewer questions, which means I will be totally focused on some questions that I've generated. This past week, there recently was the kind of unveiling to the public sphere of a Chinese learning language model, which is called DeepSeek. And today I'm going to pit both of our AI models against each other, ChatGPT-4 versus DeepSeek, to see who can generate a better question to talk about during our Jump King episode. So that is going to be our first challenge today. I don't know what kind of horrific nightmare mess I've gotten into at the beginning here, failing what I have otherwise done quite quite well before. But I'm going to assume I know exactly what the problem is. The problem is I'm seeing myself. I have my left monitor displaying OBS right now, OBS. So that's the reason. So I'm gonna quickly move away from that so that it will stop happening, because that is horrific. There we go. So we're gonna start with a ChatGPT question, and we're gonna see how does it favor, how does it do. The prompt I made was the same for both of them. The prompt is, what are 2 fun questions I could answer during my video game Let's Play? I didn't want to really get into the challenge and all that kind of stuff, because I just envisioned that would get me strange answers. So I asked them both this instead. So ChatGPT's first question, which we can rate, is if you could add one completely ridiculous mechanic to this game, to Jump King, what would it be? And I think that's kind of a wacky question, because I think Jump King doesn't need additional mechanics. I think that the whole existence of this game basically thrives on how it plays. But I guess actually, like, creating a kind of not like a Nuzlocke, but like a game mode that is specifically tailored to how I want to play it, right? As this kind of challenge where I try to improve. Basically, creating like a shadow that shows my time trial from last time. I'm already at 7 falls, guys. This is hopefully the worst 10% of this episode. But also a mechanic that tracks the falls directly, on screen. And maybe once you hit whatever your goal is, if your goal is 50, it just closes the game just instantly. Removing, maybe even like deletes, one of your private files that you care about or something, just to really add some some exciting stakes. Really make the game stressful, even more than it already is. I also think adding, some more secrets would be cool, and maybe there are some, but I would like more. I'm a big fan of secret rooms, secret puzzles. If they added some jump puzzles, that'd be cool with me. So yeah, that would be the mechanics I added. So, in the comments, you can rate this first ChatGPT question out of 10. Was it a 1 being horrible, or a 10 a perfect, flawless, amazing question that I dealt with? But that's just question 1. And now we'll move to DeepSeek's first question. If you could live in any video game world, which one would it be, and why? Well, not Jump King. I'll tell you that much. I think I kind of want to address that question too, and limit myself a bit. So I'd also say I couldn't be placed in like a world that is like a different IP. So like Shadow of Mordor or something would be like off the limits. Like because obviously Middle Earth is more of like a book world than like a game world. So I would try to just focus only on games or like game origins straight away. And then I have to kind of think about, you know, what are the repercussions of living in a world? Because, like, if you live in Skyrim, for instance, anything that you do makes you better in a way that is different than our own world. Like, in our world, if you practice something, like jumping, and you do a challenge for 14 weeks or 15 weeks, you might not get any better at the game. You might still fail when you get to the wind area. And so natural progression is very different. Of course, natural progression in Skyrim is on a curve, but there's no like disabling tendency. So like every character has the same capacity for growth. So kind of living in that world would be cool in the Elder Scrolls universe. But I need to think about this a bit more, because that was just like what came to mind as like a worthy option. I suppose, like, I could also think of, like, Baldur's Gate's universe. You can come back from the dead. Like, you can be resurrected. And it has a similar logic to it, right? D&D worlds, you can keep doing different things and you'll just get better. But one of the issues there is, like, a lot of people don't get resurrected, even though it's totally economically, you know, feasible. So there's, like, deep societal problems there with healthcare, for instance. Labor force, all that kind of stuff. So that kind of makes it a little less attractive. I am really thinking of RPs a lot, which I guess kind of shows part of my worldview, maybe, which is like the magic of the world would be kind of fun to experience. But so many of those worlds are like in crisis, right? So I'm trying to think of like a good world. You know, something like Pal World is kind of a yikes. Just like Pokemon is a yikes, right? Like enslaving your pets who not only love violence, like they love to hurt each other, they love to beat each other senseless, but like this is kind of a foundation or a pillar of all of society. I don't know, that sounds a bit rough. Pal World is like a colonial version of that, so it's even worse. So I guess I wouldn't want to do those. Although Pokemon is, I think, more appealing in some ways than Skyrim's world, Elder Scrolls world. In others, it isn't, right? That progression feature is really quite worth something. It's meaningful, right? To be able to actually just get better at something by doing it. Because I would be so good at jumping if I had that tendency. You guys notice I'm being really patient here this time, and it's because when I was editing last week's video, earlier today actually, I noticed I was just impatient, and part of it is I really wanted to go hang out with my big sis. So that's one factor. Maybe that's reasonable, but I need to play to my strength here, which is I kind of get what I'm supposed to do. Not entirely, but like I have a rough idea. And being patient is part of that skill. So back to the question. Video game worlds. I'm trying to think of like, you know, what are the best video game worlds? Having just watched the Super Mario Brothers movie, you know, I could say Super Mario Brothers. I won't, but I could. And there is some appeal to that, at least. Like it has some good things going for it. That was the patience. I lost patience, guys. I think here. I don't know how to salvage that one. So I'll just take that as a acceptable L. Not really knowing what to do there. And honestly, a lot of the games worlds that I like the games, are really dark and sad worlds that are worse than ours. So I'd prefer something more optimistic, something where there's a lot of goodness and freedom. I guess something like the Sims world would also be decent. Like, there are obviously flaws in the reality of the Sims, but they do have Biba Doobie's music. They have a universal language, and they have a strong culture, um, which I think could be fun. And they seem to have all kinds of like zany, magical stuff that I think might just be like nice in your society to have. So that's a little bit appealing. Now I'm thinking of Stardew Valley, and Minecraft and things like that. Minecraft is, of course, colonization, so not the best, to be honest. But Stardew Valley has a kind of capitalist gentrification, reverse gentrification story going on, and I kind of like it as an aesthetic. It's like cozy. You can live your life farming, and farming is very easy in that universe. And you're surrounded by interesting people. So that could be appealing. This frontier is tough, guys. I don't know why it's so tough, but it is. I'm trying to think of other kind of cozy worlds or worlds that I like. I mean, I could think of visual novels too, but I think most of those are very good for the main character and not really good for anyone else. Like living in Steins Gate's universe would be very bad if you're not Okabe. And even if you are him, it's pretty bad, to be perfectly honest. No, I overshot that again. And that was just lazy. I just was like, yeah, max jump is fine. Nah, was not. How are we doing on falls? We're at 25. Okay, I'm actually feeling pretty good about that. I thought we were at like 30, 40. Just because I've felt the pain here. Maybe it's because the fantasy world question is still messing with me. This video game world question, I should say. Fantasy world would be much easier, to be honest, because there are a lot of really positive fantasy worlds to live in. I guess so much of video games is about like challenges and difficulties, like by default. So it becomes increasingly hard to like imagine a good world to live in. I wish I had played Animal Crossing, because I think Animal Crossing's world seems very positive. Even with the animal humanoid stock exchange and like turnip market and all that stuff, it still sounds friendly and good and pure. And I like Mr. Slider's music. I think he's kind of a wizard. If I go through like my favorite games, I'm like, yeah, Inscription. Horrible world to live in. Very similar to our own. If I think of, Detroit Become Human, which I also praised very heavily, it's not a good world. Even if you get the good ending, it's a very sad state. It's maybe better in some ways, but it's still faulty. I love playing Crusader Kings. Yeah, that's a horrible world to live in. Even if I'm in charge, because when I'm in charge of Crusader Kings, there's only one place that's good to live, and it's where I rule. So that's very unlikely to happen. if I lived in that video game world. And you know, you live in Crusader Kings, it's a matter of, you know, centuries that you're playing, not a matter of a single life. So even that would just be awful. And there's League. And you know, would I want to live in the world of League's lore of Arcane? If it was the old League lore, where society no longer fought war, because they invented the League of Legends, I think yes. I think that would be a decent world to live in, even with all of the horrible evils that exist in it. I still think it's so overwhelmingly positive in other ways then, just by the absence of war. Like, that is huge. That cannot be overstated, just how much of a difference that would make in everyone's everyday lives. You know, knowing that there will be no conflict, that's truly special. But kind of the new lore, the Arcane lore, honestly, the League world is very unappealing. That was sad. That was also very sad. I don't know why I did that. That was that kind of impatience that I mentioned before, guys. Where I said that I got too quick with the wind. We're halfway through, but we're in a great spot. We just need to build on our existing kind of knowledge of this area. Okay, that was great. We can maybe, yeah, perfect. I still haven't answered this deep sea question, and I actually think that, personally, I think that reflects how good the question was, because it's hard for me to answer. It's hard for me to think through. I can't just go boom, boom, pow. I know it. Like, I've already forgotten ChatGPT's first question. Mega Man's world? Nah, not so good. Cyberpunk? Not so good. Before Your Eyes? It's our world. To the Moon. Beautiful in some ways, and tragic in others. Very similar to ours. Life is Strange. Pretty much our world, except there's some magic people, and there's no guarantee I'm one of them. That was really unpleasant. I just fell 3 times in a row. I know you guys saw that, but for me, it bears repeating. Let's get back up to the wind. We don't want to waste our time here. Ah! I don't want to just, like, get another fall, so I had to do it that way. Actually, so there's a world that's fairly dark, and it's because it's on the border of, like, a French Revolution, has a very repressive religion and all this other stuff. But it has, like, a real god head that you can actually, like, meet. You meet the gods when you die, and you die multiple times in that reality. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of this game, but I'm really hoping that I've noticed in the editing, and I've added a link to it right here. But that world could be pleasant to live in, just because you have this different perspective on life. Even with all the problems that game has, like the world has, there's still a lot of good there. Just knowing that you can start again, and it's part of reality in a way. And it's not like you're reincarnated. It's like if you die, you kind of respawn right where you died, but you've got your life back. And there's something kind of cool about that. So that's a little appealing. That's like the first one that's kind of jumping to mind. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Ah, that was that was clumsy, guys. That was too much. We try again to land on this. Streets of Rogue. Too violent? Too dangerous? Because I'd want a world that's less dangerous than our own. One that has, you know, life and love and happiness in it. And maybe something like Stardew Valley is perfect then, because you can't die in Stardew Valley and you can live forever. Somehow. I don't think there's a way to age up in that game. And you get to kind of live in a tranquil, you know, utopia of sorts. You know, there are there are problems. There's a Walmart. You know, metaphorically, you know, real Walmart, very good, a very good job provider of me when I was young. But there's an evil Walmart. I say that kind of jokingly. I'm critical of Walmart. But you know, that's one threat, but it's pretty simple. And if you go into the dungeon, you know, you get hurt from some monsters, you'll be fine the next day. You have no problems. So I think I'm gonna go with Stardew Valley. And it's a bit sad because I thought about it probably halfway through and then, you know, I dismissed it. But I think it's the safest bet. Nothing else is clicking with me as like a good place to live. Because I think that's what you need. You know, you need somewhere that it's worth living in. What video game world would you live in? I'm happy to hear your answers. I hope some are good. And now we'll turn to ChatGPT's second question. And of course, you can rate DeepSeek's first question. But we'll see now if ChatGPT's second question kind of fires back, if it's a good one. Which character or enemy here would make the worst roommate, and why? And they say that I should think about games in general, maybe, because I think though it says this game, or enemy here rather, it implies this game. I think that that's not really useful. We don't really have any personality information about our boy. So we we won't use Jump King. But I think the worst roommate worst roommate in video games. That's tough. Games. I'm really unsure. This is not like a way that I think about characters typically, and of course it's a totally normal way to do it. I'm not bashing that at all, but it's just not a way that I usually consider characters. I don't usually go, yeah, who would I want to live with? It's usually like, how interesting are they? You know, what do they get me as the viewer? Oh my gosh, that was horrible, guys. I'm so happy that that worked out. My gosh. I think I have to be a little bit over here, just a tiny bit, like a little bit more maybe. I'll wait until the wind pushes me left, and I'll do a little hopsy. Oh, okay, perfect. And I'll wait for the wind to go back and then forwards again. I'm trying to think of like who I despise in a game. I mean, obviously there's Mr. Cloud District, Nazim. I wouldn't like him from Skyrim. And Baldur's Gate, I probably wouldn't like most of those people. I think Gale would be pretty annoying roommate. I also think Asterion would be awful fucking roommate. Um, not only for being a vampire, but just like he kind of gives trauma dump energy. Like he would just constantly be like, "My life is so horrible. Everything is bad," and it is. So like, true. But that doesn't make me want to room with you. I don't think I'm the best roommate. Like I don't think I have a good claim to being a good one. So I guess I would also not like to upset, a vampire lord monster thing. 49 falls. In the end, though, I guess I would say it'd probably be like someone who'd eat me. It would be the worst, right? So if I'm thinking of like League as a good example, I think someone like Brand would be the worst. Because not only is he like evil, he's also on fire. So, dealing with someone who is both your enemy, in a sense of like they want to kill you, and who is just on fire and will light, your home on fire if they get angry at you. Like I assume that whole, the agreement for your lease would be quite strange. But I think it would be bad. It'd be real bad to be roomies with Brand. So that'll be my final answer for that one. How do you feel about the ChatGPT questions? Are they working for you, or are they not working against you? Did they make you want to abandon ship? Maybe. But that leaves us with one last question from DeepSeek. Question 2 from DeepSeek is, what's the weirdest or funniest thing that has ever happened to you while you were gaming? I think I'm going to try and answer both of these. So I think one of the weirdest things is probably not so weird to my viewers, maybe. It was not me falling and jumping, by the way. But I guess there's two kind of weird things. So one would be, and I think I've only told like one friend about this probably. There was a time when me and my older sibling, we started playing like a really niche, like action game, very similar to IJGI Guns, if anybody, or is it IGGI Guns? I think it's IJGI. A very classic kind of parkour deathmatch game. Honestly, a predecessor to things like Fortnite in all likelihood. But we played like a variant of that. I have no idea what it was called now. I couldn't tell you if I tried. But we were playing it for a few weeks, and we both kind of became good at it. Like, there wasn't a big player base, and we were like among the best players playing. We weren't the best, but we were definitely like top 5, top 10, because the community was tiny. So like a new players like us could actually just come in, and if we were decent at these kind of games, you could really, stop, because the player base was just not there. But we were stomping some games, and I was single at the time, and I usually don't like flirt with a random people that I'm playing games with. That's really never been my style. I think it's kind of weird. But I did end up flirting with someone who's flirting with me, and I just kind of reciprocated, and it was funny. It was just smiley shit. It was nothing serious. And they asked for my numbers. They could text me, because there was no in-game friend system really, and I don't know if we weren't using Discord at this time or something, but like that just wasn't an option. So I sent him my number, and the next day I'm playing some game, and I think, and I get a call from them pretty late in the evening. This mystery person, and they call me, just breathe, and then I hear like laughter, and it's like a bit, it's a bit like girlish, you know. And I think I was like 20 or 19 maybe. So this was like a red flag, because that kind of behavior, very, very fucking not adult. So I did, you know, ask them via text, you know, how old they were. And then they said, you know, some kind of ridiculously young number. I think it was 15 or something. And I think I blocked them. I never talked to them again. And I definitely blocked their number, because I was like, that's fucking sketchy. But it has always stuck with me as just the weirdest like gaming event in a way, connected to gaming, because it made me very uncomfortable. And I honestly, maybe it put me off even more towards the idea of like flirting with random faceless people. It just made it like, you know, that was a time when privacy was very, very more widely considered a virtue, and now I'm like, no way. Like I'm even nervous about like online dating, you know, like I'm like, if I see a picture of you, is that really you? I don't know. So yeah, that was absolutely weird gaming moment. I've got 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I've got 3 falls left. I don't know. I kind of went on to autopilot there, guys, to be perfectly honest. And I just now remembered that I promised that I would go after the bird today. I'm sorry for lying. I didn't mean to. But you know, these questions have been gripping me, so there is that. As for the funniest thing that's happened to me while I was gaming, I have to think about that. Funniest thing. I have 1 fall left. Nice. What is the funniest thing to happen to me while gaming? I can think of like silly things that have happened. No! Well, I can't answer this question. I am finished. I am out of time. I have fallen 70 times. And this time it was a bit more fun than last time, I'm not gonna lie. Last time I was getting upset. This time it was fun. And I'm happy to report that, you know, I did answer each of the questions. The last question was this or that, weirdest or funniest. So I did answer the weirdest. But funniest is gonna have to come in next time, maybe, if I remember. That said, I might not remember. I forgot the bird after all. So, you know, in conclusion, please let me know in the chat. Did you like the DeepSeek questions better than the ChatGPT questions? How did it feel? Thank you for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, click through, click on things. We love it.